Hey, the most elite ball strikers, the best of the best, not just any tour player, but the ones who consistently get the most greens in regulation, the greatest driving ranking of combining distance and fairways hit. These guys have a secret. And right after this, I'm going to try to distill this secret advanced ball striking concept into terms you can understand and that you will be able to follow as we go. Stay tuned. All right, on paper, the concept of what elite ball strikers do to hit the ball so long with less effort and so straight every time, I'm going to illustrate it with this noodle. It simply involves making sacred this space between the noodle and my body. You simply cannot interfere or put anything in the way in this space. Notice how it is on an arc, upwards and back inwards again, coming from the inside, straightening out, and exiting back around to the left and upwards again, just like that. So let's take a look at some of the errors or the ways that you can get yourself caught up in this space that you're supposed to stay out of. This is like a no-go zone. You cannot interfere with this space with any parts of the club or the body. Let's take a look. All right, a closer look again at the same arc. You can see number one error that most golfers make when they intrude on this space. They got to keep this space sacred. You cannot interfere with this space. This is the space that is reserved for the handle of the club to go around its arc. Now, early extension is the number one culprit. If I were to do something like this, now my pelvis and my thigh are now interfering with the club handle's ability to move through this space unimpeded. I'm going to have to change the route of the handle in order to hit the ball. The club shaft will not be able to arc, but it will probably spend too much time pointing out to the right. It'll then get too tall at impact. Therefore, the hand and the handle will be bumping into the noodle or being even outside the noodle if it's done badly enough. So the handle is not following the arc. The hand is bumping into the noodle because the thigh and the knee and the hips are occupying this sacred lane or sacred space that you've got to stay out of. Another thing that some people have a difficult time with is they want to move their foot upwards into plantar flexion, extreme plantar flexion, which points the knee out. Again, you can see how I have moved into this space reserve. Think of it as like a reserved parking spot. My knee is now moved into this parking spot, and I cannot get the handle of the club by anymore. I'm going to have to reroute it to get my right elbow clear of my hip. You see, I'm going to get my elbow and my hands kind of more trapped behind. And again, I have to reroute the handle. Now, sometimes people just start too tall. Let's go back and let's look at our reserved area, our reserved parking space again. What if I were to stand too tall? I don't have enough room now for my hands to pass through between my belt buckle and the noodle anymore. Here they've got double or triple the space. They can navigate right through this around the arc. But if I'm too tall at address, or maybe in some golfers' cases, you might stand up during your backswing and you might lose this initial hip angle that you had. Well, now, you see, the space has disappeared and you haven't even begun your swing yet, and you're pretty much already doomed to be short and challenged for direction as well. So the best players on tour, so that the handle of the club, this end of the stick, can come arcing right on through this space, just like this. Just like that. Anything else, and you're going to lose distance, and you're going to have to you'll either block it right, you could have to introduce more shaft flip. Now, any time that you get some body part or you lose this space right here, you're going to have to compromise the path of this end of the stick. It's going to, even for a brief moment, if you find yourself with those little misses, you're a better golfer, 5, 6 index, 2 index, but you seem to have a little bit of that two-way miss. Come back and you'll check that this handle is either getting, maybe from too much of this, it's getting pushed out just a couple frames too long before it can turn the corner around to the left, because you can't get clear of this knee and thigh in time. You see your club shaft drop under the plane, a little bit of flipping, something like that, and there comes your two-way miss. For the early extenders, doing this, well, my whole pelvis is now occupying the space. I'm going to have to make the handle do this, where now the handle is almost outside, and the ball is going to get pushed or blocked off to the right. So keep the body parts, including the hand and the club. You don't want the hand and the club doubling or tripling its gap either. So if you're starting with a fist and a thumb, let's just say a normal amount of space, and you're ending up with 2 fists and 2 thumbs coming back into it again, that means that your hand and your wrist again have broken outside the scope of where we need them to go. This defined arc, you're almost outside the noodle at this point. And again, the handle of the club is not going to be tracking a really great arc. Let's take a look at one of the greatest right now to do that. That's Colin Morikawa. Amazing golf swing, because it has so much squareness to the arc with the club face through the impact zone. Really stays square. It's hard to see how he could ever get into a big slump going left and right. Like some other golfers on tour, you see them kind of rise and dip and rise and tip. I can see him just staying more steady with his ball striking. That's because you can see how much forward bow he keeps coming into the ball, and how the club comes right in inside the noodle, turns on the arc, and exits right around the arc on the left. You can see because of that, his club face comes out looking like this, pointing back at the camera, where a lot of you out there, if you were to film your swing, and especially if you're breaking this rule and you're moving into this reserved space, your club shaft will be higher, more vertical, and the toe will look twisted downwards like this. His looks lower and like this. Yours might look more like that. So you've had to introduce more of this action in order to keep the ball from going off to the right. So if you could just keep that as a visual, you can just practice small shots, keeping the hands in your mind inside the noodle, keeping this space clear. The rear end's got to stay back. Got to keep that hip flexion, and you've got to keep the knee and the thigh and the hands traveling through this space. So just like that, really nice straight shot. Really good hand path to keep me from having to do anything extra to square the face. We like when the club travels from the inside around the arc to square and back around to the left with the club face, always tracking that arc, just like that. Our enemy could be something like this or something like this. Of course, you would be breaking the noodle with your hands or the handle on each of those examples. So hey, next time you go to the range, Bring a noodle with you, but give yourself the image. It could be a hula hoop, something like that. Give yourself an image of this imaginary barrier right here that you're going to try to make the hands move right through. And who knows, it might cause you to move your body a lot better too, in order to facilitate the hands coming down on the track that they're supposed to be going through. Hey, hopefully this will get you going more consistently, longer and straighter. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all your support over the years. I'm Steve, and if I don't see you in the next video, I'll see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Everybody take good care.
Oh.